Hey, wake up. It's Means Morning News. Just after 11 a.m. on the East Coast, I'm that newsman, Sam Sachs. It's that Friday show. Please don't ask me who I picked to win the Super Bowl. I'm just rooting for a good game. That goes over 47.5 points and includes Patrick Mahomes passing for more than 250 yards and Deebo Samuel catching at least 5 passes and more than 3 field goals getting kicked. Oh, in Kansas City to win the coin toss. This is how I win. Since it is the Friday show, let's begin with some lighter fare this morning. How about the latest on the U.S. gerontocracy? President Joe Biden was cleared by the Department of Justice on Thursday for mishandling classified information, but he caught some major strays in the process. Now, this is related to the top secret documents from the Obama presidency that were found at Biden's Washington, D.C. office and at his home in Delaware. Special counsel was appointed to probe if any crime was committed. And according to Robert Hur's report, the investigation, quote, uncovered evidence President Biden willfully retained and disclosed classified materials after his vice presidency when he was a private citizen. But, Hur added, the evidence did not amount to a case that was beyond a reasonable doubt. And that was mainly because the president's brain is now mush. The report noted that if this ever went to trial, the DOJ wouldn't stand a chance. Quote, we have also considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury as he did during our interview of him as a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory. Based on our direct interactions with and observations of him, he is someone for whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him, by then a former president well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. Some specific examples cited in the report of Biden's mind failing him. He did not know when he was vice president. He had to ask if he was serving in the role in 2009. He was. And later asked if he was VP in 2013. He was. The report also said Biden had difficulty placing the time of discussions about the Afghanistan war and even couldn't remember within several years when his son Beau died, which was in 2015. Biden, mad as hell, spoke to the press after the report's release. He criticized the special counsel, and then he tried to prove that there's nothing at all wrong with his cognitive abilities, during which Biden promptly confused the country of Egypt with the country of Mexico.
I think that, as you know, initially the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate.
Yeah, Sisi is the president of Egypt, not Mexico. Inspiring lots of confidence, Mr. President. Keep it up. Somewhere Kamala Harris is like, you got to be fucking kidding me, before breaking out into uncontrollable mushroom giggles. Trump, unlike Biden, is getting prosecuted for mishandling classified documents, and the special counsel's report laid out exactly why that is and the differences between the two cases. And it's mainly because Trump's a huge dumbass who didn't just turn the documents over when they were discovered. He instead lied and obstructed all attempts to recover the documents, getting himself into progressively more trouble until the FBI finally raided Mar-a-Lago. So the cases are different, but there is one thing that's the same. Both men have applesauce in their heads. And if I were Trump's lawyer, I'd be mounting the broken brain defense too. Hard to believe our choice this November will be between two guys who can't draw a dang clock. Hey, here's someone we haven't checked in on in a while. Brazil's former far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro. I wonder what he's up to these days. How about getting his passport seized? This is from Reuters. Quote, Brazilian police on Thursday confiscated former President Jair Bolsonaro's passport and accused him of editing a draft decree to overturn election results, pressuring military chiefs to join a coup attempt, and plotting to jail a Supreme Court justice. Wow. And he was able to do all that from a hospital bed? Impressive. Authorities said the evidence against Bolsonaro is strong and that the confiscation of his passport is likely a precursor to his arrest. And he's not the only one involved. Search warrants have been executed against high-level figures in his administration, including his vice president, his national security advisor, his defense minister, and his justice minister. According to phone records and the testimony of a former aide, in the days after his election defeat to Lula da Silva, Bolsonaro gathered military leaders to pressure them into supporting a self-coup to stay in power. The military brass balked, but thousands of Bolsonaro supporters did not. After he left office, they stormed and ransacked the Brazilian Congress and Supreme Court buildings, in scenes eerily similar to what transpired in the U.S. on January 6th. Unlike Trump, though, who is leading his party's nomination to run for president again, Bolsonaro will be barred from running for president again until at least 2030, according to a ruling from the country's federal electoral court, and that's for Bolsonaro spreading election lies. Bolsonaro briefly spent time in Florida last year trying to avoid imminent arrest in Brazil related to his supporters' riot, and he was photographed aimlessly walking around a Publix supermarket. He probably should have never left. An astounding moment on Capitol Hill Thursday during a Senate hearing into prescription drug prices. CEOs of three major drug companies, Bristol Myers Squibb, Merck, Johnson & Johnson, were called to testify on their extremely high prices for medications in the U.S. compared to other countries in the world. And watching the proceedings, you had to conclude, wow, it sucks to be an American. Here was Senator Bernie Sanders questioning the CEO of Bristol Myers Squibb, Chris Boerner, about the price discrepancy between the U.S. and Canada.
Dr. Melissa Barber, an expert at Yale University, has estimated that it costs just $18 to manufacture a year's supply of Eliquis. $7,100, what we pay $1,800 to manufacture. Is it true that the same exact drug, Eliquis, can be purchased in Canada for $900 a year?
Senator, that's roughly correct.
Let me ask you this. Even at 13% of the cost in the United States, does Bristol Myers make a profit selling Eliquis for $900 a year in Canada?
Senator, we do make a profit.
All right, so you're selling the product for 13% of what in Canada, of what we pay in the United States, and obviously you sell it there because you make money. So, Mr. Boerner, will you commit today that Bristol Myers Squibb will reduce the list price of Eliquis in the United States to the price that you charge in Canada where you make a profit?
Senator, we can't make that commitment primarily because the prices in these two countries have very different systems that prioritize very different things. In Canada, medicines are generally made less available, and it takes oftentimes considerably longer for those medicines to be available, on average, roughly.
I do apologize. Life expectancy in Canada is 6 years longer than it is in the United States.
I wonder if there's a link between the lower costs of drugs and the higher life expectancy. The CEO was alluding to, but didn't want to explicitly say, is that Canada has a nationalized healthcare system, and the primary purchaser of drugs is the government, which has more power to negotiate drug prices and cut out extreme profit-seeking, thus protecting their citizens. The same is true in Spain, where there's another huge difference in the price of life-saving medicines. Here was Sanders asking the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, Joaquin Duato, about that.
Mr. Duato, is it true that the list price of Stelara is $79,000 a year in the U.S. Is that roughly right?
It's roughly right, but it's also true that the average discount of Stelara in the U.S. is 70%.
I
So
know
it's
all of that, and we've dealt with PBMs, and we're going to get to that, I'm sure, in this morning. Is it true that while charging $79,000 in the United States, that the exact same product is sold in Spain for $18,000?
I don't know the price in Spain. I can tell you that the average discount in the U.S. is 70%, so the price that you quote is 30% of that.
Okay. Mr. Duetto, is it true that it costs less than $15 a year to manufacture Stelara?
The manufacturing cost is only a component that goes into our pricing. When we price our medicines, we're looking at the value that the medicine brings to the healthcare system.
Okay, yeah, he's basically saying we just put the price at whatever we can get away with in the United States. Duetto didn't mention another consideration that goes into pricing, his own compensation, which was over $13 million last year, plus stock options worth almost $50 million. Both Spain and Canada have dramatically better health outcomes and life expectancy than the United States, all while spending considerably less. The healthcare system in the US is a big fucking scam. It needs to be nationalized, and the profit seekers need to be excised from it. Most members of Congress have joined this fight, but on the side of the drug companies. Hey, it's time for Rich Dicks. Let's check out those nominations on social media. Thank you, Arona, for nominating all the landlords. We're not going to let them slide this week, or any week, for that matter. Nora again nominated the genocide heirs in elected office, from President Joe Biden down to Senator John Fetterman and Representative Brian Mast, all for supporting Israel's massacre in Gaza. The Wolf nominated a familiar face around these parts, Elon Musk, for fighting against labor unions in Sweden. And King Charles was nominated, mainly out of fear that we're running out of time to make him a rich dick, given his recent health news. It's a fair point, but I think we still have more time for old sausage fingers. All strong nominations, but in the end, this week's rich dick is... God help me, Taylor Swift. Okay, she's the rich dick, but not for all the reasons the knuckleheads are saying. I know she's going to get a lot of attention this weekend with the Super Bowl on Sunday. She's going to get a ton of hate from people, and most of it will be unjustified. So I thought it was important for America's highest newsman, me, to explain precisely why Taylor is a dick, instead of all the made-up reasons why she is. It's not because she's planning some secret op to elect Joe Biden. It's not because she's dating a guy who appeared in commercials urging people to take a COVID shot. And it's not because she's involved in a mass game rigging scandal with the NFL. But I can see why losers who bought into Pizzagate are now seizing on all of that. Their descent into madness continues. No, the real reason Taylor is this week's rich dick is just because she's doing lame rich people shit. And yes, that includes flying a private jet to the Super Bowl. Although in her defense, so are like thousands of other assholes this week. And at least she's flying all the way from Tokyo and not from like Los Angeles. But what sets Taylor apart here is that she's threatened legal action against the social media account that tracks her private jet flights. That's why she's getting the dishonors this week for acting like Elon Musk. 21-year-old Jack Sweeney, previously the owner of the @ElonJet account that tracked Musk's private flights. That was until Musk accused him of sharing assassination coordinates and had the account suspended. Sweeney confirmed that he's now received a cease and desist letter from Taylor Swift's legal team. The letter claimed that his jet tracking account poses a, quote, imminent threat to the safety and well-being of Taylor Swift, and it demanded he remove all content from the accounts and permanently delete them. But what really pissed me off about this letter is Swift's legal team didn't just try to defend her, they went to the mat on behalf of all the rich and powerful people whose private flights Sweeney tracks, from Mark Zuckerberg to Kim Kardashian to various Russian oligarchs. From the letter, quote, "You're notorious for disregarding the personal safety of others in exchange for public attention and or requests for financial gain. We are aware of your public disputes with other high-profile individuals and your tactics in those interactions, including offering to stop your harmful behavior only in exchange for items of value. While this may be a game to you or an avenue that you hope will earn you wealth or fame, it is a life or death matter for our client." Oh, shut the fuck up. Tracking the ruling class's extremely carbon-intensive movements is a way to add public scrutiny to their behavior. And while I agree that Swift isn't profiting off extracting fossil fuels or denying people health care or selling exploding mortgages, she's still a billionaire and she does take a lot of private jets. Instead of acting like an asshole and trying to bully someone with a social media account, she ought to just fly commercial. I hear first class is pretty nice. Taylor Swift, this week's rich dick. But her music is totally fine, okay? I'm not trying to induce the rage of any teens. Think about it, kids. If Taylor Swift flies commercial, there's a chance she might be on your flight. How about that? I'm on your side here. Don't get mad at me. All right, friends, the show ends this morning with a sunrise from California. It was sent in by Nathan in San Jose. Enjoy. Thank you, Nathan. Show's over. Thanks for watching. Thanks to the team behind the scenes. Please sign up for Means TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to our podcast, and follow us on social media. One day, capitalism will fall. I promise it will. But until then, we're going to be right here. See you next week.